Shalom from Israel. I'm Avi Melamed, founder of Inside the Middle East ITME Institute. This is the second part of a video exploring how the burst of violence in South Syria cornered both the new Syrian rule as well as Israel in a very challenging niche. Yesterday I was talking about the Syrian angle, today I'll talk about the Israeli one. Following the downfall of Assad regime and the rise to power of a new rule in Syria, Israel conveyed two red lines. One, Israel prohibited the deployment of Syrian regime rule powers in the south part of Syria. The reason for that is because Israel viewed that regime as a dangerous one, as a source of a threat. Israel argued that the new regime of Syria, despite of its pragmatic message, is actually a wolf disguised in a sheep clothing. One can understand the Israeli suspicious because the new president of Syria, Ahmad al-Shara, is coming from the hub of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The other red line that Israel portrayed was regarding the Druze in Syria. Israel committed to defend the Druze in Syria. There are two reasons for that position. One, Israeli intelligence and policymaker circles view the Druze in Syria as a potentially valuable ally that could be very significant in the context of Israel's strategic multi-layer defense policy. The second reason is that in Israel there are many Druze, most of whom are also Israeli citizens, and they are totally incorporated into the Israeli society, the army, the police, and so on, and they feel committed to the well-being of their brothers. In fact, there has been calls within the Israeli Druze to go to Syria and to fight alongside their brothers in Syria. This is, of course, a scenario that disturbs Israel enormously. That is the reason why Israel committed to act militarily to defend the Druze. And indeed, when the crisis started, Israel moved very swiftly and very robustly, conveying those two red lines. However, in a short period of time, there has been a shift within the Israeli position, and actually Israel gave its silent consent for the deployment of the Syrian regime powers in the area of Swida in South Syria. That shift apparently stemmed from two major reasons. One, Trump administration expressed discontent with the Israeli robust military action against the Syrian rule, reminding you that Trump overtly legitimized the new president of Syria as the one that is supposed to rehabilitate Syria. The other reason for the Israeli shift apparently is because within Israeli intelligence and security circles there has been growing understanding that the scenario of continuation or deepening of this burst of violence in Syria may drag Israel into this swamp against its will. The possibility that the Syrian regime will be able to stabilize the situation on the ground seems to Israel today thus as the preferable one, even if it means that the Syrian rule will deploy its forces in the area in order to restore order in the south part of Syria. In that regard, I would say that the Israeli shift of policy in a way kind of like counterproductive as far as Israel is concerned. It's interesting that it happens exactly at the time where Israel is viewed as the most powerful entity in the region, of course following its decisive winning in the war against Hezbollah as well as in the war with Iran. The region looked at Israel and looked at Israel as a mighty, maybe the mightiest power in the region. However, the shift of Israeli policy actually resulted in a narrative today in the Arab world describing Israel as a non-trusted player, a non-reliable one, a one that can change his position according to its cold calculation and therefore cannot be trusted. One way or another, I would say in that regard that we could expect that the situation in Syria will continue to be very fragile. It's going to be very fluid, including in the context of the south part of Syria. Hence, we can understand that the Syrian arena will continue to present Israel some very significant challenges that will call maybe for the restructuring of a policy or redefining of a policy or reasserting a policy. I'm Avi Melamed. Thank you for watching.